It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical, Mains and Duts. I'm your host, Mains, and my colleague, who I would never fire on his birthday, it's Mr. Neil Dalton. How are we, Neil?
In keeping with the fact that we're recording this on Halloween, the peek behind the curtain. We'll get to Andy Dalton in a minute. What is the scariest, spookiest piece of music in the world?
I don't know. I'm sure you have a one for this.
Well, I just think the Tubular Bells from The Exorcist. Crap film.
Yeah.
But
it's
It's the music. The music builds up a level of tension that the film then fails to deliver on.
Yeah, I didn't like the film. I don't like scary films, though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm against them as a concept because that's dramatic, but yeah, I don't really like scary films. There you go.
I mean, the second of all time would be the Monster Mash, of course, but
well, it goes without saying. Anyway, Andy Dalton getting fired on his birthday,
and boy is he happy about it.
Yeah. Well, boy, should he be happy about it? I mean, I think we seem to talk about rubbish franchises a lot on this show, or it feels that way.
We do spend an inordinate amount of time on them, yeah.
And I think sometimes you underestimate the crapness of the Cincinnati Bengals, and that was pretty crap. Like,
it's as he said in that video that I sent you. That if you're going to drop them, make the call on Monday morning and then say, look, we've got 2 days. What do you want to do? You've been the starter for 9 seasons. You're level on touchdown passes with the all-time leader. But look, we want to see what we've got in the kid. Do you want to stay and back up, or do you want us to see if we can get you somewhere else? To do it when they did, I say on the birthday is largely irrelevant, let's be honest. But to do it so close to the deadline and then pretty much just say to him, so yeah, you're going to be a backup. I mean, it's nice backup money he's on, but why? It's I assume Andy Dalton wants to play, and basically, he doesn't want to earn his money being a backup.
But it's funny as well, is because I think he's 32, is he? Like it's not like he's over the hill in the new quarterback world of where you don't really get hit. Okay, like I think you've decided you've had enough and you're going to let him go anyway. But I don't know.
Right by him?
It doesn't feel right. Where are you going? Although what I did love is that the stat that he's the only quarterback in NFL history to go 8-0 and 0-8.
That sums up the Bengals perfectly. I mean, I just don't understand that they've been steadfast in their refusal to even entertain the idea of trading AJ Green, who may not be healthy, we don't know. But the first chance they get to not play fair with someone, they crap on him from a great height.
Yeah.
I don't understand where this team's going. And they had been mediocre but stable over the last decade, whereas now they're not even mediocre. Would be a promotion for what they are right now.
Nearly were a silly interception quarterback trying to tackle someone away from being the best team in the AFC in 2015.
Seems a long
and
time
they
ago.
And they are now what, 0-8 and going busily nowhere.
And of the bad teams in the NFL, probably in terms, obviously the Dolphins, we know the story, we know the script, but they're feisty.
Yeah,
the Bengals,
the
Jets,
too feisty for a few of the office types, I'm sure, in Miami.
But whereas the Bengals and the Jets and
Washington, yeah,
they just look like they haven't got a clue.
Yeah, I know, and I think if I'm Miami, I'm nervous this week because we play the Jets. And we could accidentally back into a win there.
See, I religiously watch Red Zone, but I am tempted just to watch that Miami Jets game.
I usually have it on another game on the iPad, and it doesn't intrigue me, that game, I have to say.
Because I'll tell you this, on week 16, cancel all plans, I am watching the Bengals with the Dolphins.
Dolphins is a great game.
The toilet bowl.
as we mentioned last, I called that out 10 weeks ago. As
Yeah.
this has all the makings of an absolute classic. Neil, this isn't plugged into the means, but we will get there momentarily. We will then dive into your fancy darlings and loser of the week, and then we will look at our daily DraftKings team of the week, and I will say, Mainsy, what were you thinking while you were doing this team? But there you go. Let's start, Neil, as we always do, by plugging into the mains. We've probably all heard the stat about the Patriots defense, that if they were just the defense on their own and the offense didn't play, they would have only lost 4 of the 8 games they played so far. I think they've scored 154 fantasy points already, and I believe that the record over a whole season for defense and special teams and standard scoring is around 170, which is the Bears when they had Hester, and the Chiefs when they had Hall, i.e. not really the defense, but more the special teams angle. So I asked Neil to go into his stat machines and find out if anything has been as dominant as the Pats defense. So Neil, has anything been as dominant as the Pats defense?
Well, as you say, they have 165 fantasy points this year. That is the 10th best scoring player/unit in fantasy football. If you break it down by positions, there'd be the RB5, there'd be the quarterback 4, there'd be the wide receiver 3. They've got more points than anyone in those positions. So I went back. So as we say, they are the 10th best scoring fantasy unit among all players: quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Obviously, there's no tight ends in the top 10 best scoring players. That would be silly. So I went back over the last 10 years to have a look where the best scoring defense finished in terms of total fantasy points. Now, I haven't got the points total because I think it's irrelevant, but I have the positional finish. So in 2010, the defense won in fantasy scoring, which was the New England Patriots, finished 20th. So the overall 20th fantasy player.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we have 2011, the Bears, player 34. 2012, also the Bears, player 26. 2013, the Chiefs. The Chiefs had a high-scoring fantasy defense. I know, I was stunned as well. They were player 34.
Was that the Marcus Peters interception year? Is that, or are we too early there?
Too early there. So 2014 is the Eagles, player 55. 2015, the Broncos. Now, bear in mind the Broncos won the Super Bowl on the back of this defense. Fantasy player 62. The next year, 2016, the Chiefs again. Fantasy player 95. Then the Jaguars, player 52. And last year, the Bears, 72. This is ridiculous.
It's insane, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can argue that the Patriots' offense is almost irrelevant to them at this point. The offense is a facilitator for the defense. The story you always like to tell, Joe Gibbs told his defense, your one job is to get me the ball back. This is the flip. The Patriots are literally saying to Tom Brady, just get off the field, please. We've got this.
Do you know that, I think you talked about it maybe last year, that the second favourite target for Aaron Rodgers last year was out of bounds, thrown away.
Yeah.
And this year it looks like Tom Brady's third favourite target is the floor 3 yards ahead of him, when he just goes, nothing here, not really worth getting hit for, not really worth giving up a bad play, let's throw it into the dirt by someone's feet.
Well, there's the stats as well, the passer rating being allowed by Stephon Gilmore is 33. You get 39.6 if you throw it into the stands.
I don't understand passer rating, but that proves that it's a ridiculous stat. They're good. I'm not shocked. what you may be shocked about is I think they lose this week.
There has been one team over the last decade or more that has seemed to be as close to Patriots kryptonite as we can get, and that is the Baltimore Ravens.
I mean, I think the Pats are the best team. I think they're probably going to win the Super Bowl. I just don't think they win all the games. And if you're not going to win all your games, one that you may lose is to a team that run the ball really well, especially when you looked at how not easy Cleveland ran the ball on them last week, but they did really well on the ground at the Browns. I mean, the problem is, sometimes the quarterback handed it off to, a defensive tackle.
I think it's one of those, the Browns at least showed they were committed to running the ball against the Patriots. It wasn't a, we'll do this until it stops working. It was, no, we'll do this. But I think Mark Ingram has been meh, apart since week 3 in terms of production. Gus Edwards doesn't give you anything. Justice Hill is on milk cartons. Basically, the X factor is for all the players, and I'm not buying this who they played argument for the Patriots. They played NFL teams, except when they played Miami. They have played NFL offenses. They've had to stop them. They have not faced a player like Lamar Jackson. If I had to bet on one defensive coach to find a way to slow him down, it would be Bill Belichick. But that presupposes that he can be slowed down.
I think sometimes as well, like the problem is with those kind of, I think they've won their last 21 games against first and second year quarterbacks, that eventually that stat just ends. And not that it's not unbelievable, just law of averages kicks into force. We'll see. Neil, you don't watch as much American sport as me, but you're fully aware of the transfer window, I guess, in the UK.
Yeah.
For quote unquote soccer. But I watch a lot of American sport, and believe you me, the NFL do not understand the trade deadline. Now, smarter people than me will tell you it's because they don't understand the playbook, or it takes a while to get used to it. But when there's a load of teams who are keeping lads who are, not on rookie deals and won't play or can't play for that franchise, it baffles my mind. AJ Green, Trent Williams, to a lesser degree Josh Norman. There's a lot of players where you're like, why are you on this rubbish team when you could get a 4th or 5th round pick for them and give them the opportunity to do something? The Trent Williams thing really should go down in the annals of the reason that this owner was sent on a rocket to the moon with Bruce Allen attached by his testicles to the side of it. He had a cancerous tumour on the side of his head that was described as minor. He was in hospital for 3 weeks. No one from the Redskins office came to see him. No one from the whole team came to see him. And they were offered a 1st round draft pick for him by the New England Patriots. And I assume out of spite, this is at the start of the year, out of spite refused to do it. Because why?
To prove a point.
Yeah, a point that you are a terrible franchise and will never, never, ever be good. AJ Green, okay, you can make the argument that you want him to end his career as a Cincinnati Bengal, fine. But, you're not going anywhere, so why don't you get something that you can make use of going forward?
I mean, it's as you say, I mean, Trent Williams has come out and said he has nothing against Dan Snyder. He was asked whether his relationship with Bruce Allen is repairable, and his response, next question. So I think you and I, being, investigative journalists that we are, have identified that there is a common theme in most of Washington's problems, and his name is BA. Unfortunately, he is not part of a team that loves it when a plan comes together, because there is no plan, and it never comes together for Washington. They're an absolute clown show. And I say, to then at the 11th hour say, Trent Williams is available. If I was every other NFL team, around the NFL boys always talk about having, a GM, WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Washington would be removed from it. And while they were removed, everyone else would say, do not trade with this team. Do not entertain trades for your players. Do not offer trades to their players. Try and make them a pariah. Just to call out how stupid and petty they are. Because Therese Paler and Charles Robinson on the NFL Yahoo podcast did point out that there are front officers that believe a lost season is well worth it if you proved a point. And the point that they've proved is we're not going to have our franchise player, one of our best players of the last 15 years, tell us when he wants to come and play. That showed him. Congratulations.
The opposite of that, Neil, is the New York Football Jets, who continually fight the likes of the Bengals and Washington for franchise mediocrity, where it seems like they went behind the back of their best player. I wouldn't say he was their franchise player, but I think we're comfortable in saying Jamal Adams is the best player on the New York Jets at the moment. Did you say that?
Yeah. He's the healthiest.
Yeah, and said they weren't going to trade him and then nearly traded him to Dallas.
I think the problem is there seems to be a miscommunication, and the differentiation is, did they field calls for him, or were they on the phone to other teams offering? Now, I think it was Bradley Gowton did make mention on Twitter. Everyone's got a price. So this is what Jay Glazer reported last week, that teams had been in touch with the Texans to ask about DeAndre Hopkins. Now, obviously, the first thought would be, new phone, who dis, and then put it down. But it's one of those, say a needy team comes up and says to you, we really like DeAndre Hopkins, we'll give you 2 first-rounders and a 5th. And you just make it 2 and a 3rd. Everyone's got a price. Yeah. Obviously, it'd be like, I want to have this player. So whether it was a case of, did Dallas ring New York up and say, Jamal might not be happy, or were New York on the phone to the Cowboys saying, do you want him? If it's the first one, I've no issue with the team listening. If it's the second, you're a bunch of backstabbing bastards who've done your players dirty. Absolutely. But I'm not at all surprised when someone in the power structure is Adam Gase, who, as our friend Ollie points out, has got where he is because he's got Peyton Manning's number on speed dial.
Yes. Final note, Neil, which I think we have done at least 3 years on the run, so let's make it 4th. Okay. Coaches of the NFL. I know you believe you are a coach because you're really smart. So I'm going to let you in on a kind of maths thing for you. The closer you get to the end zone, the higher percentage you'll have of kicking a field goal. So if you decide in your infinite wisdom to kneel on the ball to not get any more yards, to allow your kicker to kick a 41-yarder, which he misses, at home in Chicago. Don't know if you're aware, Chicago known as the Windy City. Don't be a flipping hero in your press conference trying to make yourself look smart when the only reason that your team didn't win the game is you. And I include the fact that your quarterback is Mitchell Trubisky. So, Mr. Matt Nagy, offensive guru extraordinaire, you can't get 5 yards when a team's going to not allow you to, he's going to play prevent. Then, as our text group will say, Maines will take his standard position on this. You're fired.
It's quite, as you say, it's pathetic. If you're going to do that, can't own it. Don't try and make it out like this the media's fault. And, try and be... We have seen this year, we've seen Deshaun Watson answer a scheme question in one of the most easy to digestible ways I've ever heard in my life, and then do it again the next week. We have heard, though, in this same season, 2 dinosaur coaches saying that going for it on 4th and 1 is the stupidest thing they've ever done. And now this crack from Nagy. As you say, if you're going to do this because you think, well, what if he throws an interception? Then what kind of route are you putting him on? Are you trying to say we're going to go 4 verts? No, you've got a timeout. Just little dump off something and outside do something. You're supposed to be an offensive guru, but then it's like, okay, well, we don't really want to put it in the air. We'll run the ball. Well, again, you can't run a toss play or something. You don't trust your players. And you certainly don't trust your quarterback. So why this team is spending $78.8 million of their salary cap on offense in 2019 decided to trust someone they're paying $495,000 in wind in the last minute. I mean, they pissed the first half was a laughable few seconds going up to the half because they didn't know what they were doing. They're calling stupid plays. They're calling running plays in the middle of the field. It was like a Greek tragedy, this whole team. It was the Chargers being outcharged. But then, as you say, setting up for a kicker after what you've done, 59 minutes of the game is basically spent making the kickers irrelevant. But then you decide, no, he's my boy, and we'll do this. But I tell you what I'm going to do. I won't even find out what hash he wants. I'll just get the nail down going. You're an idiot. And as I say, what if Matt Nagy's actually a moron?
Yeah. This isn't a sports city that doesn't care. I'll tell you what they don't care about. The fact that you were 12-4 last year, mate. Because right now, as far as most of Chicago is concerned, the idiotic GM moved up a place to get Mitchell Trubisky, while the other quarterbacks taken in that draft are 2 of the top 5 in the league right now, and their head coach is a buffoon. So there's a high possibility they may want that blowed up.
Yeah, as I say, if you're going to do it, own it.
Exactly.
Come out and say, I didn't think I had a play that would help us make it a better kick. Don't kick off on the media because you're a dickhead. It doesn't play well. And because, believe me, the next time they speak to you, they're not going to be any more friendly.
And what I will say, final thing on this, Neil, is I agree with lots of things that Chris Westling said. He's a close friend of the show. I absolutely fundamentally disagree with him on the fact that he believes that kicking is hard. It's not hard. Watch rugby. Get better kickers. Kickers kicking it straight for a distance is not difficult. I don't care how big the people are. I don't care. Watch rugby. Don't have pads on. Charges at him. 100 mile an hour. Kicks it straight. Kicks it into corners. Easily done. Watch the game. I know you won't, Chris. That's fine. I know you think the kicking is complicated, and that is cool. I'm just here to tell you that on this one, you're going to have to take the L. Like, how we haven't got 32 kickers in this league is criminal, and how there isn't a single one from the UK blows my mind. Neil, let's move away from the news, and let's get straight into fantasy. And let's find out who you are loving in week 9 with our fancy darling.
Hello, darling.
Well, it may come as a surprise to some, but I'm actually loving Sammy Watkins this week. He obviously got off to a blistering start to the season and then has done Sammy Watkins things ever since, i.e. nothing. However, 4 of the last 5 teams to play against the Minnesota Vikings, which is who the Chiefs are playing this week, have seen their wide receivers score at least 29.1 PPR points against them. And of the 4 of the last 5 teams to play against Minnesota, one of them was Washington, so not a real NFL team.
Correct.
In those 4 games, not including the Washington exhibition, Allen Robinson, Darius Slayton, Alshon Jeffrey and Marvin Jones all had at least 76 yards and a touchdown. Sammy Watkins came back, from injury last week. His first game back, he had a 23% target share, which, as I say, was his first game back from injury, and he had Matt Moore at quarterback. So I don't think Sammy Watkins is going to go off completely, but I think as a wide receiver 3, which is ultimately the world that Sammy Watkins should live in, I don't think he's a terrible shout this week.
Indeed, Neil, indeed. Good game, that, by the way. Sneaky good game. I like it, regardless of who the quarterback is.
Yeah.
And I think, as I've heard numerous times, if you're unsure how good Andy Reid is as an offensive coach, first of all, you don't listen to this show very often. Second of all, he had a shootout on Sunday night with Aaron Rodgers, and his quarterback was Matt Moore.
Andy Reid's ability to get anything from any touch. Put it this way, only Mike McMahon has looked bad in my time of watching NFL in an Andy Reid offense.
I was going to say, how many quarterbacks have looked bad in Andy Reid offenses?
Yeah. Mike McMahon.
Exactly.
Just see, we go back, the Eagles, obviously they had McNabb. Then there was Detmer. There was AJ Feely. There was Jeff Garcia. There was Kevin Cobb. There was Michael Vick. There was Nick Foles. Vince Young had a couple of games and looked competent, but Mike McMahon didn't. So,
Yeah, exactly, Neil. And on the talk of Mike McMahon, let's go fantasy loser.
Well, we've talked obviously about how good the New England Patriots defense is. So obviously I'm not chasing them in the same way that I'd chase a tight end playing against the Cardinals, but I really, really don't think Mark Ingram is a viable option this week if you can get away from it. Ingram scored 22 points in week 1 and 35 points in week 3, PPR points obviously. Since then, he hasn't gone over 15.4 points in any one game. He doesn't catch the ball. He's not an option. He's not a part of their receiving game. If I just call up his stats quickly, he has managed the princely sum of, he's had 4 targets in one game and then no more than 3 in any other game. But he's had 0 targets, 2 targets, 0 targets, 2 targets, 1 target, 2 targets, 1 target. He's not used the passing game. His yards per carry has been erratic, and he's only had 2 games, of more than 14 rush attempts all season. He's just not the focal point of the rushing attack. Lamar Jackson is. So if you can get away without playing Ingram this week, I wholeheartedly recommend it.
Great news, as I can't. Neil, that's overall fantasy. Let's go daily, and let's give you our daily fantasy teams of the week.
Mains and Duts. Daily Fantasy Team of the Week.
Show me the money.
Neil, who's your quarterback this week?
My quarterback is Derek Carr. Detroit are at Oakland. I always get that the wrong way around. Detroit are at Oakland. Derek Carr is 5,500. He's averaged 23.4 fantasy points in his last 2 games. And a not horrible 17.6 per game this season. The Lions have allowed an average of 300 passing yards per game over the last 5 games, as well as multiple touchdown passes in 4 of 5 and 26.5 points to quarterbacks on average. Sneaky shootout potential in this one.
My quarterback is Gardner Flint Minshew II, playing Houston. This has another game of sneaky shootout potential, although I am slightly nervous, as most games in the AFC South between both teams end, 12-10. However, Minshew's really good. And
he's fun.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I know we we all got into the hype, and he got to Chuck Norris levels of memes and whatever. But 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and escapability in scores. I know he only played the Jets last week, but he absolutely crushed them. So I like Gardner Flint, and 5,700.
It's almost as if quarterbacks who come from being coached by Mike Leach should be trusted.
Yeah.
But then you remember that Luke Falk was coached by Mike Leach, so...
We seem to be we're a few years removed from never pick a quarterback from the Big 12. Let's just put it like that. Who's your running back 1, Neil?
Running back 1 is Le'Veon Bell, 7,700. The Jets are playing the Dolphins. Now, you could argue, as we say, that the Jets are more dysfunctional than the Dolphins right now. Le'Veon Bell has come out and said that he's frustrated by the lack of touches, and no doubt the presence of Adam Gase as well. Now, most teams, you'd think, oh, squeaky wheel game, but now there's just as much chance that Bell gets 2 carries and then gets benched. But let's try and be positive here, and I'll go with the fact that he's probably going to get fed against the Dolphins.
My running back 1 is Aaron Jones, Green Bay Packers. It's weird this. It says Green Bay Packers at Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously incorrect. This is the Green Bay home game in the sun, I believe. I think that's how it's being christened. He's been excellent in recent weeks. It's almost like Fantasy World told multiple head coaches of Green Bay to play him more. He finally this quarterback, this coach has finally listened. I think they'll jump out to a big lead, Green Bay, and therefore lots of clock bleeding, and therefore Aaron Jones is a must play. 7,000.
The theory that I have seen is that basically first and second down is Matt LaFleur. Third down, he stays away and lets the grown up in the room take it over.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Who's your running back 2, Neil?
Running back 2 is Nick Chubb. Cleveland are at the Broncos. He's 7,300. The Broncos, who we think are a stout defense, this is still something that we appear to be muscle memory syndrome. They have allowed 24.3 PPR points to backfields over their last 5 games, and they allowed 16 points to Marlon Mack last week. Chubb, as we've seen, the Browns should go through Nick Chubb. That's how their offense should work at the moment. And we've seen that generally they do stick with him as long as it doesn't get too out of hand, because he's so good. So yeah, I'd say 7,300. It'd be nice if he could sort of get back into the end zone, but I think the Browns get off the schneid here, and in a game against Brandon Allen, I think they'll be up early and often.
See, interesting, Neil, because my running back 2 is from said game. Mine's on the other side of the field. It's Mr. Freeman, running back, 4,900, cheap. And as you said, Brandon Allen is the quarterback. Anyone know who drafted him?
John Elway?
No,
it's the Jaguars.
The Jaguars drafted him. He went on the waiver wire and now he's picked up. How's Drew Lock looking? Good.
To be fair, most of the experts aren't excited about Allen. They're not excited about Drew Lock. They're thinking it's just getting closer to Ripien time.
Amazing. So I expect a lot of running by the Denver Broncos this week. Even when behind, doesn't really matter. And Freeman has been used more as a runner in recent weeks. The Browns are the 28th ranked defense against the run. We'll let you in a little secret, Neil. This is not a secret. I went 3-0 in the touchdown 3 last week because I'm awesome. This week, I have picked the Ravens plus 3.5. But another game I picked is the Cleveland Browns playing the Denver Broncos. When that article comes out, can I suggest looking at the tweet I've included with Mark Schlereth, who was on Speak for Yourself, which is the Jason Whitlock vehicle on Fox. You don't really have to watch the Fox show, but it's really interesting. He puts Elway on absolute blast. And you're like, that doesn't mean anything. Mark Schlereth's a TV commentator. Why would that mean anything? He was his offensive lineman when he won 2 Super Bowls. John Elway won Mark Schlereth 2 Super Bowls. And Stink set him on fire this week.
Yeah, but he was talking to Jason Whitlock, so who gives a shit?
Well, yeah. Who's your wide receiver 1, Neil?
Other quick news, Philip Lindsay has been limited in practice with a wrist injury. Now, he did miss the last game of last season with a serious wrist injury, so obviously we don't know that is, but it's a worry. And my wide receiver 1 is Allen Robinson, 6,800, Chicago at Philadelphia. Now, Allen Robinson, in his meaningful football career, has gone from Christian Hackenberg to Blake Bortles to Mitchell Trubisky. Brandon Cooks, who came out in the same draft class, has had Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Sean McVay. As Fantasy Mansion does point out every day, Allen Robinson must wake up every day, think of Brandon Cooks, and think, that guy.
But that's the Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald, previously DeAndre Hopkins approach, right?
As you say, Robinson is playing against the Eagles. Robinson torched the Eagles in the playoffs. 10 for 145 and a touch, I think. I don't think he's going to get an awful lot of meaningful looks, but I think he's going to get volume because he is far and away the best and only receiving option they've got. Anthony Miller is not come on. Trey Burton is really living down to the contract he got. And unless they decide, no, we're going to run the ball. Hello, this is Fletcher Cox. You may have met him. Please run into the line 30 or 40 times today. But Allen Robinson, he only needs one double move on whichever traffic cone is in that secondary for the Eagles. He could be going.
Hashtag burnt toast. My wide receiver one, Neil, is in a game previously mentioned, Detroit at Oakland. I'm going with Kenny Golladay.
My boy.
7,700 for Babytron. He's my most expensive player this week. Raiders are the worst pass defense. In fantasy wise, Golladay was fantastic last week and led me to a dynasty victory to bring me back to 4-4. I expect big things again this week. Just hoping we're not having a turns apiece concept in Detroit and Marvin Jones gets all the rub.
Yeah, enough of that. Enough of this feeding Danny Amendola as well. Come on now, Matthew. I thought we were better than this.
But I watched obviously on Red Zone, and you see that play, and Stafford throws that ball deep for the touchdown, and you're like, there's only one person he's throwing that to.
Marvin Hall.
Who's Marvin Hall, and why is he so short? Why does he not look like Kenny Golladay? Well, there you go. Neil, who's your wide receiver 2?
DJ Chark. He's 6,400. Houston, 2 wide receivers in their last 4 games have allowed 46, 38.3, 52.4 and 44 PPR points. Their secondary is awful. They've lost JJ Watt, so they don't have a pass rush. In the last 5 games, wide receivers have gone, this is their average to wide receivers, 19.8 targets, 12.4 receptions, 180.8 yards, 1.8 touchdowns. And Chark looks really good. And see, he does have a good connection with Gardner Minshew. Quick question though, so this game is obviously early kickoff, it's at Wembley.
Yeah.
This will be the 29th game, I believe, in England, so in London. What is the one thing that we've still never seen in this country in the International Series games?
I have no idea. Please
two teams with a winning record.
Oh my goodness. We saw a spectacular tie and we were there to see it.
We have. It was a great tie, but at no stage have both teams rocked up above 500.
And we're still selling these effing games out. My wide receiver 2 is Jamison Crowder, 5,300. I think you've got to have someone who's playing against the Dolphins. Didn't really want Lev Bell. Juju Smith-Schuster gives me hope. And Deontay Johnson as well, to be mentioned later. So I'm going with Crowder, 5,300. As before, mononucleosis and all that, like Donald and Crowder, especially in the preseason, had a really good link-up.
They were making sweet music.
Wide receiver 3, Neil.
Wide receiver 3, Sammy Watkins, 4,900.
Nice. My wide receiver 3 is Deontay Johnson, Indianapolis. At Pittsburgh, 4,500. With Rudolph under centre, seems to be cementing himself as the number 2, which is interesting. For 4,500 to get the number 2 receiver is always good news. Don't know what to make of Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure they're rubbish, but they've won 3 of 4. But I think that's because they played rubbish teams. But we shall see.
Yeah.
If that's the case, they should get battered this week by Indianapolis, regardless of where it is.
India are a weird team, though.
Yeah.
They're competent, they're well coached, but it's the... What do you do exceptionally well to warrant where you are?
They're well coached, I think is all we can say on it. I mean, they tried their absolute darndest to lose last week. Who's your tight end, Neil?
Tight end is the same tight end I had last week as Dallas Goedert. I say the Eagles welcome Chicago. He's 3,100. Scored a touchdown last week again. Was a top 12 tight end again. Over the last 4 weeks, he has had one fewer target than Zach Ertz, but has 5 more receptions and about 17 more yards. It's probably because one of these people is a legitimate NFL tight end who can do everything, and the other is a big wide receiver.
My tight end is one of the best tight ends in the NFL, Darren Waller, the Oakland Raiders. He's 6,300, which is a lot of money for a tight end. But as you mentioned previously, the Detroit secondary, not great. And this is a great matchup. And don't tell anyone. Keep it to yourself. But John Gruden's done a really good job on offense this year.
Especially as his offensive line coach is Tom Cable.
Especially considering he has no real talent on his team.
I know. I mean, I love Tyrell Williams, and always have. But if he's your number one,
you've got issues, right?
You've got issues. I mean, Josh Jacobs has been very, very good. Darren Waller, as I say, is the feel-good story of the 2019 season. It's wonderful juxtaposition that we have such a heartwarming story about someone who's come from the depths to, getting that contract and, being so good, playing on the same team with human car crash Antonio Brown.
Yeah. Correct. Who's your flex, Neil?
Revenge. Jordan Howard, 5,100. Eagles against the Bears. Howard basically played closer in Buffalo. He was some bruising runs. His best play, though, was essentially when he played fullback and sprung Miles Sanders for a 65-yard touchdown run. Matt Milano is one of the Bills' best players on defense. He's underrated. Yeah, he had his soul stolen from him by Jordan Howard, and then Sanders, hit the gap hard, and then went. And it was the Eagles' longest running play since 2013. Can you tell me the name of the running back who had it?
No, I have no idea.
It was Bryce Brown against the Bears.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I think, unfortunately, we've seen that at the moment, as constituted, without Deshaun Jackson, the Eagles need to get themselves in a position where they put their best players on the offense at the same time. That means both running backs and both tight ends. So I think Sanders is going to, he's still not wrestling this job away from Howard because Jordan Howard looks like the type who's going to keep getting the extra yards. He's still nothing in the passing game, bless him, but he doesn't have to be if he gets the volume.
He is absolute frying pan hands.
No, he's a joy to watch, but I don't care.
My flex would be what would be described as the opposite of Jordan Howard, and that's James White of the New England Patriots, who gets 10 receptions a week, and also like 3 rushes for 4 yards or something. But it's PPR, so I'm going to get a running back who can catch it. Considering Baltimore are going to try and attack Brady, so there'll be a lot of dump offs, and also there'll be a lot of dump offs because there aren't really any wide receivers on the Patriots anymore.
I mean, JJ Zacharyson did point out that in terms of consistency, James White has been fantastic this season in fantasy because I don't think he's finished lower than running back 20. But it would be nice if he scored touchdowns.
Yeah, but they're not exactly scoring touchdowns themselves, are they?
No, and this is the problem that once they get into the low red zone, close to the line, close to the goal line, when you think, oh, nice little dump off here, or pass into the flat, they'd rather run it, and that's not James White's wheelhouse. So,
absolutely. Who's your defense and special teams, Neil?
The Cleveland Browns are playing essentially a rookie who, as we say, his next NFL pass attempt will be his first. And, I just think the Browns don't look terrible on defense when things are going their way. I mean, they put a few hits on Tom Brady. I think they can do some damage against Denver, to be honest.
Yeah. I think everyone got a bit ahead of themselves on the Browns, right? You don't go from garbage to Super Bowl contender in a season very rarely. You need a couple of mediocre seasons, and this could be one of them. And they play the Broncos this week. They've still got 2 games against the Bengals. They still play the Dolphins. So don't worry. 8 wins are coming. Okay, it's not 12, but 8 wins are coming.
They just need to get... They're another team, though, that need to get out of their own way.
Yeah, but I think they strike me as a team, and maybe it's a Baker thing, where when things are going well, there's a lot of chutzpah. You know what I mean? There's a lot of testicle going on. A lot of we're going to be great, and they're playing a lot of garbage teams, so expect a lot of look at us, we're awesome, when you're still only going to be 8-8. But there we go. My defense and special teams is the Dallas Cowboys. Don't know if you know, Neil. Myself and Dave Gettleman had a difference of opinion at the start of the year. He thought his team was good. I thought they were hot trash. For those who are keeping score, I'm 1-0 up. Hey New York. Hey New York. How's Daniel Jones working out for you last few weeks? He looks like, who he looks like? He looks like Eli Manning. That's
with
cool, isn't it? That's cool.
Eli can run.
That's cool, isn't it? Awesome.
The problem with the Giants and Gettleman especially is they're not going anywhere. But they've traded future assets for a player who they can't really help them in a league that still focuses more and more on the passing, and he cannot help himself bringing in run-stuffing defensive tackles. Can't help himself. It's also this is another thing that we didn't actually talk about this when we discussed the trade deadline. Right, everyone now, just the collective free footballing watching world. Little hint: not every free agent that leaves is going to get you a 3rd round comp pick. You really need to knock this idea in the head. Cap space is overrated. Yes, it is, because competent teams can get round it. But if free agents leave, that does not mean our 3rd round pick, we'll get that back, because that presupposes that your team is literally going to say next year at free agency, nah, forget it, lads.
I reckon Dave Gettleman, because he found out and said his team was hot trash, went back in time to when we discussed Leonard Williams, and I said he was going to be the best player in that draft. I was wrong, but obviously Dave hasn't got to the point where I said that later on.
I was listening to a podcast today. I can't remember which one though, because I listened to that many, and it was someone talking about Gettleman when he was at Carolina, and they had K1 Short, they had Star Latulo. So they already had these, hog mollies, these war daddies on the defensive line. But it came to the draft, and they drafted, I can't remember who it was, but they drafted a defensive tackle in the 1st round because, in Gettleman's own words, I didn't think he'd fall to us, and I got so excited I just had to take him. Find someone to love you the way Gettleman loves run-stuffing defensive tackles.
Amen, Neil. Let's recap. Neil, who's your quarterback?
Derek Carr.
I've got Gardner, Flint, Minshew the second. Running back 1.
Le'Veon Bell.
I've got Aaron Jones, running back 2.
Nick Chubb.
I've got Royce Freeman, wide receiver 1.
Allen Robinson.
I've got Babytron, wide receiver 2.
DJ Chark.
Jamison Crowder, wide receiver 3.
Sammy Watkins.
I've got Deontay Johnson, tight end.
At Dallas you can support. Dallas got it.
I've got Darren Waller. Flex.
Revenge. Jordan Howard.
I've got a running back who can catch, James White, and defense and special teams.
The Browns of Cleveland.
I've got the Cowboys of America. Neil, where can people catch you for the rest of this week?
The rest of this week I'm doing bugger all, but if you go back through my back catalogue, I have my weekly stats from Numberfire, I have the wide receiver report. Little hint, Michael Thomas, really good. And also I have my tight end streamers, one of whom is Dallas Goddard. Those last two for the the Rotoviz. I think, considering it's an early kickoff at Wembley, I may be on with Nat and the boys on Sunday night, but I may not be. I may get bumped because of travel or whatnot. Because I'm not that big time. So.
Later in the week, you will catch me on touchdown.co.uk doing touchdown 3. As I mentioned earlier, finally perfection was reached in week 8, 3-0, now 5 above Mount 500, 14-9-1 overall this week, picking the Browns, picking the Ravens, and picking the Cowboys. That's it from us, Neil. We're a day late, but we're not $1 short. And you know what? These top guys are out.